And good morning. Welcome to your Vote Counts leader, Echols, Jason Dunnington. Good to see you both. And let's set this up. The governor leaves town, lieutenant governor leaves town, a storm comes through, power out, the pro tem is acting governor, and there's a storm on social media and some people are upset. So let's start by putting everything in context.
Yeah, I think what everyone needs to know is what is actually going on right now. And the fact is, our governor was gone when the storm came through. Usually our governor would have been able to declare a state of emergency, which would stop things like price gouging in eastern Oklahoma, would, if we needed to, allow the National Guard to come into effect and do things. But the governor was out of town over in Paris. The lieutenant governor happened to be out of town, and so it made the pro tem in charge, but no one told the pro tem that he was in charge. He clearly knows the line of succession, but he was not informed that he was the acting governor. Once he found out, he was able to declare a state of emergency almost immediately and did a really great job getting to it when he found out he was in charge.
Okay, so there's a lot on Twitter and other things. They're just completely wrong, but this is an unusual situation.
It's very unusual, but I have to say, Pro Tem Greg Treat did a phenomenal job. When he found out he was acting governor, he acted immediately. He signed the emergency declaration, but then he really took on the role of the executive. He did a great job going into Tulsa. Very proud of my friend. What I know about him doesn't shock me at all, but used this as the opportunity to spend time with the people. Our hearts go out to the citizens of Tulsa. Now, I will say the problem in this, though, is not that the governor went to the Paris Air Show. If we're going to be serious about aerospace, we have to send the executive to the Paris Air Show. There was a secondary issue there, but I think the first part of this question needs to be Greg Treat showed real leadership. Pro Tem Treat did a phenomenal job.
Okay. Now we got that settled, the question is, it is an imperfect storm and it's probably once in a lifetime thing, but it didn't work out really well. So should we change the law?
Yeah, we should. So here's what happened. There's no legal requirement when the executive goes out of town to tell the next person in charge, which is the lieutenant governor. There's no legal requirement the lieutenant governor tells the next person in charge, which is the pro tem, or that the pro tem, if all three were out of town, told the next person, the speaker. And there should be. Nobody broke the law, nobody broke the rules. All of these were pre-planned trips that made perfect sense. But yes, somebody has to be in charge. I think about the May 3rd tornado that hit my district about 7 years ago and then went into more. Governors had to act within an hour. That was Governor Mary Fallin at the time, but she had to activate the National Guard to operate like the police force. We need to change the law. Everybody needs to be notified when the chief executive is gone.
It makes sense to address this, even though it may never happen again, right?
Yeah, it 100% makes sense to address this. And let's just break down the facts here. We didn't have an acting governor that was able to make decisions. We did, it's just they didn't know that they were governor. This absolutely needs to be changed in law. Our Attorney General made this exact claim this week as well, saying, look, it's a simple fix. Just change the law. I think the legislature should put that up first thing next year. We have to have an acting governor when it comes to this. And I think one of the reasons that we don't is because when a governor leaves town, he wants to make sure he's still in charge. When a lieutenant governor leaves town, he wants to make sure he's still in charge. It isn't about who's in charge. All of them are elected by the people of Oklahoma, and the people of Oklahoma expect to have a person in charge.
Okay, when we come back, test scores. There's another storm brewing out there. We'll tell you about that when we come back. And we're back to Leader Echols, Jason Dunnington. And speaking of storms, man, some test scores are out this week. It really works people up. They're not good. But let's start with those test scores, what it means for public schools in Oklahoma.
Yeah, so we got our newest rankings and test scores, and they've gone down over the last 5 years. We're now 46th. Here's what we know. Compared to the national average, our math scores and our reading scores are abysmal. We have got to find a way to bring those up. Since I've been in the legislature, I've been extremely proud of the work we've done to raise education funding. As a matter of fact, over the last 6 years, we've raised education funding 67%. It is 67% higher. In that same amount of time, our test scores have gotten worse. Our children are reading and writing less. Now, there's a series of things there. It is not our Oklahoma teachers. They're doing a phenomenal job, but there are other things that we need to be looking at.
Okay, interesting point. Your thoughts about these test scores?
Yeah, I mean, there's no denying the fact that our test scores right now are abysmal. 46 in the country is not good enough. We need to be 6th in the country. But when you look at putting funding into education. It's not like remodeling a house where you spend the money, you do the remodel, and it looks amazing right after. It's when you invest in education, it takes years beyond the investment in order to see the fruits of that investment in education. We need to continue investing in our education right now, and we need to take a look at the fact that poverty is playing a part, especially when you look at Oklahoma City and Tulsa public schools, and how is poverty affecting our test scores? Because education just isn't what you learn in the classroom, it's about all of what we're doing for the child.
Okay, so last week we started talking about what the legislature did before the vacation. The media goes away, the legislature goes away, people forget what happened, including on this particular segment. But there were things happened in this last session of the legislature. Will it impact these scores?
Yeah, I mean, we just had record investment in education, but like I said earlier, it's like remodeling a house. We just put that record investment in. We should be looking 5 years from now to see if that investment is making a difference when it comes to test scores. I mean, we're coming off the heels of COVID 3 years ago, and COVID, we know, had a major impact on students' learning. When kids are out of school for up to a year or more, they got behind on what they need to know in order to pass some of these test scores now. So we need to have a little bit of patience, we need to continue the investment, and we need to make sure that we're not continuing a war on education, but understanding that if we invest in our children, we'll have a better outcome in the future.
Okay, so what happened, it was a big education session, right? You see the test scores, you see what happened. Look into the crystal ball, tell us what's going to happen.
Yeah, this was the biggest education session in history. We gave both parental choice, universal parental school choice, and we also gave the largest single-year investment in the history of the state of Oklahoma. That's coupled with, again, the 67% increase over the last 6 years. That doesn't mean we need to stop investing in education, but that does mean when I took over as floor leader 7 years ago, the talk was Oklahoma had cut education more than any state in the nation. I'm willing to bet we'll be looking 3 years from now with studies that say Oklahoma increased education funding more than any state in the nation. Now we need a laser focus on giving teachers the tools they need to teach kids to read and do math. We need to double down on dyslexia training. We need to double down on mathematics training. We need to listen to our teachers on what they need, and we need to laser focus on how do we prepare our kids for the next generation, not just funding, but all of it. And parents, it's your job too.
Okay, well, just tune in 5 years. We'll find out if it works. Hey, thanks for watching Your Vote Counts. See this again at news9.com/YourVoteCounts, and follow me on Twitter, LinkedIn, and Facebook at Mitchell Talks.